everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining me once again. Today, it's been on my heart to talk about hangovers and come downs. So, anybody who is a drug addict or who uses drugs knows about come downs. There are different kinds of drugs. I know every drug has a different kind of come down. But I want to talk in particular about the things that I know about. I know nowadays there are so many different kinds of drugs, and unfortunately, the opioid problem in America I know is insane. I looked up some of those drugs that you guys talk about because I've been on the recovery sites, and it just blows my mind at how many new drugs there are and how strong they are and how addictive they are. And when I was doing drugs and yeah, it was up until about 5 years ago, but we were doing clean-ish crack cocaine, which is made from pure cocaine, which we were sniffing, ecstasy pills, which we used to try and get pure MDMA, which is basically just boost your serotonin levels to very high levels. So I'm not saying any drug is good, but when I look at the drugs that they have today, I just it scares me for the youth and the youngsters. And I just for me, even with the drugs that I did, the come downs, I think that is the main reason actually why I wanted to stop doing drugs. Because, for example, with crack cocaine, I don't know if it can be a drug which is stronger in your cravings when you are coming off it and you want more. Because I know in myself that when I started to run out and I know that I've got no money left and I've just spent all my rent money and this is my last 2 or 3 pieces left, it is a huge issue. And as you have your last hit, you start feeling anxious already because it only lasts, with crack cocaine, it only lasts about 5-10 minutes, that nice feeling. Then for me personally, I start feeling very anxious and paranoid, and I start needing more. I have to have another hit now, otherwise it's a huge problem. So either what happens is then you start taking handfuls of tranquilizers or sleeping pills, and basically so you then are now hooked on tranquilizers and sleeping pills too, or alcohol. Because if there are no sleeping pills or tranquilizers, then for me, I had to down glass after glass of brandy or vodka or whatever there was at the time, just to get that hanging feeling. It's called hanging here in South Africa. I don't know what it's called, but I'm sure every place has its own name. But it's basically all you can think of, all that you want is to get more. And so you start looking at your TV and wondering how much you'll get for it. You start thinking about what you can steal. To be honest, I never stole because I always had a way of getting money. But a lot of my friends stole, and a lot of my friends pawned their stuff. Actually, to be honest, I pawned a lot of stuff. I pawned jewelry, I pawned furniture just to buy alcohol. And that is the extent, that's the craziness of the extent we go to get more, because that feeling is so absolutely intense that I think it was just once that I didn't have any alcohol or tranquilizers or anything after I was smoking crack cocaine. And for the next 2 days, I sat there going insane, staring at the floor, looking under the bed in case I dropped some, spotting all over the place. It's the most incredibly horrible paranoid feeling. Every little noise you think is someone coming to get you, is the police, even while you're smoking. The paranoia of thinking that every sound is somebody who can see you, what you're doing. And yeah, the insane things that we do. My one friend used to turn the lights on and off and on and off, and I said, "Do not do that. You know that is what is going to get the cops to come." But that's what, in her insanity in her head, made her feel safe because she was so paranoid. And it is a very lonely, neurotic, paranoid drug where you sit with your best friend, whoever you're smoking with, and you lock yourself in your house and you do not have noise. For me and my friends, we could not speak to each other. We could not have music on. The negative effects of it, even while you're smoking and you're getting that high, but at the same time, the paranoia and the um, fear of noise is so, all your senses are so heightened that the smallest little noise sounds like something huge. And yeah, just sure, it's so hard to explain, but basically, okay, so during it, even you start to feel all these bad things, but afterwards, the cravings are so bad that my friend used to sell her son's stuff and used to pawn her son's Xbox and his games and stuff like that, and he was only about 12. And then the next day, when you look at it, and not even the next day, this is like when we're on a 2 or 3 day bender. So after 3 or 4 days, then you take enough sleeping pills and you sleep for a day, and you wake up and your son is saying, "Where is my Xbox, Mom?" And I've had times where there's small kids around. It's like, "Mom, we're hungry. We haven't eaten in 2 days." And yeah, it is frightening. It is absolutely frightening, the things that we do to ourselves, to our bodies, to our kids, to our families, I mean, after 2 days and you spent the rent money and the landlord has already phoned and asked you for it, and it's like, half of the money that you have for the month that you've just spent on a 2-3 day bender, which is a lot of money. Cocaine, you need at least, I'm speaking in rand, so you need to look up the rand dollar or rand pound or whatever exchange rate. But you're looking at, say there's 2 of us, you're looking at least 2,000 rand for the day. So that, that is a lot of money. That is most average people's food money for the month. So yeah, there are so many negative effects to it, and even the drinking. As you wake up in the morning, I would wake up, and sometimes I'd have 3 or 4 friends sleeping over, and we would fight for the beer. Well, actually, I didn't drink beer; I drank cider. So, whatever alcohol, we would fight for it because we feel so sick. So we would wake up and we would just reach for whatever alcohol it is and drink 2 or 3, and then we'd feel a little bit normal, and then we'd be all right to go to the bottle store and buy another bottle of brandy or whatever we could find. And then sometimes you even phone the merchant again and buy on tick, which means you had to pay him back at some stage, and then it gives you bad quality, which makes you sick. It is insanity. It is absolute insanity. The rush is obviously, you think at the time worth it, but it's really, really not. When you have to think 2 days later about how you're going to pay the rent and you don't have the money, about how you're going to explain to your son that you've just sold all his PlayStation games, about how you're going to explain to your family where you've been because you're supposed to go to a family party or birthday thing or something. And yeah, and with the alcohol, once you get started in the morning, then you have to carry on the whole day if you're going to be doing anything at all, like working or meeting up with people. So you have to keep on a constant level of drinking, like slowly so you don't get drunk, but like non-stop the whole day, every day, so that you don't get sick. Because if you stop drinking, that's when you get really, really ill. For me, I mean, some people could cope with it. I couldn't. I reached a point where I had to be drinking all the time, from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep. And I got to a stage where I had bleeding ulcers. I was throwing up blood. I would throw up blood and then drink some more to stop the pain of my stomach. The insanity of it. So just to anybody who thinks it might be clever or funny, I was speaking to someone on a messenger who says they only smoked weed, but they, as yet, as if they're thinking of maybe doing other things. Do not be stupid. Really, it is not worth it. It is not worth it. You might think, oh, it's dulling the pain for now, or it's, the high is so nice for now. But it's only for that particular moment. And when you come down, the come downs, and ecstasy as well, the absolute horrible feeling for the next 2 days. And then the third day, that depression that hits you so hard, because with ecstasy, it takes all the serotonin, which is your happy chemicals, out of your brain. And so it takes a couple of weeks to build it up again. So you need to eat loads of bananas and relax and, just, but the depression and that horrible anxiety feeling, which is what has caused my permanent anxiety now. Just for a few hours of pleasure. And I actually reached a stage with drugs where I decided that the come downs were not worth it. So I cut down a lot before I got saved and delivered. Alcohol, unfortunately, it was not possible humanly for me to stop on my own, because I've reached a point of, I needed it to survive. I needed it like I needed water. It was, I used to shake so badly and get so sick if I didn't have a drink for more than an hour. That's how bad it was. And that is what the Lord delivered me from. That is what Jesus took from me as I gave my life to him. And I'm forever grateful, because I was on my way to commit suicide because I could not deal with this anymore. The amount of money that you need for the drugs that I was taking, I was in my 40s and I was using men to get money. And when you reach over 40, the men start looking at the younger girls, at the 20-year-olds, and they no longer really want to give you that 1,000 rand here or 500 rand there or whatever, because there are younger, prettier girls that are coming up. And so unfortunately, I was running out of money. Couldn't afford the drugs. I was starting to run out of money for the drink too. I was also smoking. So I was smoking about 30 cigarettes a day, which also cost a lot of money. And I just couldn't see a way out. So I was about to go kill myself when my friend came and picked me up and basically, I was at a stage where I didn't even know who, what, why, or where I was. And the Lord was gracious enough for, when the pastor said his words after me, and I did, the Lord gave me the benefits of the doubt, and he took all of that away, and he gave me himself and his Holy Spirit and the power and the gratitude for what he had done for me to want to pursue him and to not want to even look back at any of that stuff. So cigarettes, drugs, alcohol was taken away completely, but in about an hour or so of praying. And so I know that I have said this before in other videos, but some people only listen to one video and they don't watch the rest. So that is the most important thing, that it's, for me, it was just the Lord that saved me, and otherwise I would be dead. So it is not worth it, guys. It's not worth living like that. That is not a life. I couldn't communicate with my family or with people in general. I was like in a stupor most of the time. I couldn't think properly. I had my brother saying to me a few times, "What's wrong with you? Are you insane?" Because he didn't realize that I was like out of it most of the time. And when I think about it, I probably said some crazy stuff to people, which I didn't even realize, because you don't know what you're doing. Half the time you have no idea what you're doing. And I had a lot of memory loss of things that happened in the last 20 years. And yeah, it's pretty scary. It's pretty scary to not know where you left your child for that weekend. I never would have left him anywhere unsafe. I always had my mum or my gran. But, you know, after Joel, I didn't know if he was at my mum or my gran. And that's how bad the situation was. The things that we did to our kids, our children who had to grow up with their parents who they love so much, who they don't see because we're too busy destroying ourselves and our bodies and our minds. And then we look back a few years later, and sometimes it's too late. Our kids are grown and they are angry and hurt, and they don't want to know, our stories, and it's just not worth it. The hangovers, the come downs, the loss of your life in general. For however many years you're doing it, you're throwing away that period of your life which you can spend with your kids, with your family, the people that you love. Because in that time, you're pushing everyone you love away. And unfortunately, yeah, it just cannot be given back. Even though I've got a lot of restoration with my family now after I've been saved, I've gotten my life together. I've gone to Bible school. I am helping a lot of people in addictive recovery at the moment. So I think the Lord has put me here for that reason, is to help others. But at the same time, that 20 years of my life cannot be given back. I cannot have that time back of my little boy at 6 years old, playing with him, because I was just too sick or hungover in the morning, and or else trying to get just get the feeling away, and so getting high or drunk again. And so that was what my son had to deal with, and that is not fair to our children. Anyway, this is not to make anyone feel guilty, but it's just a warning to people who, I know this world is hard, I know this life is hard, I know there's so many hectic things. I wanted to numb my pain. I wanted to get away from reality, because reality is pretty scary, and it did suck a lot for me, a lot in my life. But at the end of the day, when you look at it, you have to at some point try and become sober. Then you go to rehab, you spend a fortune, and a lot of the time it doesn't work. And if it does, you wasted all that time and you got so many regrets. So yeah, it's a scary thing. Drugs are very, very evil and created to destroy families and people's lives. And unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about the time that we have wasted, except for try to make it up afterwards and make amends. But this is just a warning to anybody who's trying to think about, should I or shouldn't I be doing more than what I'm doing now, or should I be trying drugs or whatever. It is not worth it at all. It really, really isn't. For that amount of pleasure, the pain is far worse and much more than what the pleasure could ever be. And even if it numbs you for that amount of time, it also numbs you against all the good things in life and all the things that you love in life. So yeah, so that's just my thought for the day, and I hope somebody gets something out of it, and I'll speak to you again soon.